Limitless Wrestling fans, what is going on? Now, I wanted to get this out of the way at the top of the show because Randy and I, a few days ago, recorded this hour-long Vacation Land Cup bracketology episode, and we went super in depth, and you're going to hear that all in just a couple of minutes. But before we get to it, we do have to preface that there have been some changes to the card since we went and did this bracketology show. And you could even argue things have changed for the better, but it didn't look like that way for a hot second there. So I'm here with Randy right now. Randy, about, let's say, more or less 16 hours ago from when we record this, you announced publicly that Sean Spears had been pulled off of the show by AEW and he was being replaced by Tommy Dreamer. And since we've learned that Sean Spears is going to be allowed to compete after all, Tommy Dreamer is still coming, and now it's going to be a triple threat between Anthony Green, Tommy Dreamer, and Sean Spears in the first round of the Vacation Land Cup. Whirlwind of emotions, I would imagine. Break it down for me. When did you first find out that there were some complications?
Yeah, so Saturday afternoon, I got an email from Sean's agent, Brian, and I kind of figured it wasn't good, but I opened it up, and it said essentially that, AEW has a contract with him now, even though they didn't when we, originally struck this deal with Spears and his agent for him to appear. Because of that, he has contractual obligations for a video shoot Friday, and they were going to pull him from the event. And they said there was absolutely no way that we could figure out anything travel-wise. They had looked into everything, whatever. That afternoon, I called Brian, and we had about a 20-minute conversation, just kind of, I was just trying to pitch alternatives of ways that it could work because, this is kind of worst-case scenario. He's one of the names that people were really looking forward to seeing because, he's not in Maine very much, probably not going to be in Maine very much.
And the week of the show, nonetheless.
Yeah, that's the thing, is it was such a late acknowledgement that, hey, this might not happen. It was literally, Saturday afternoon. And that just sucks because when we have to present something like that, fans who, a lot of fans who follow us, we have a great group of fans. Let me just say that first of all, because anytime that we've had issues like this, they're very understanding. They know that shit happens. They know, the nature of the professional wrestling business. However, I know that not every fan is going to give us the benefit of the doubt, because regardless of how many, true, limitless wrestling fans of the brand we have, there's some people who just see wrestling as wrestling. And there are fans like myself who have been fans of wrestling in Maine for a while, who have seen, promotions do this bait and switch thing where they'll announce a talent, they'll have them, promoted until the day of the show or the week of the show, and then they'll pull them off when he wasn't even booked in the first place. I don't want people to ever think that that's us. So it sucked, getting this news this late. And it also sucked because I knew finding a replacement is going to be pretty hard, being, 6 days away from the show. So talked to Brian. We talked over some travel options. He had a couple ideas, as did I. They were shooting in Jacksonville, so I looked up some different flights from Jacksonville into Boston or Portland or whatever would work. And then Brian went to work. And I do want to give Brian a lot of credit. Sean's agent really did, try to negotiate, I should say, with AEW to try to make something work. Everything that we had pitched was denied. And then Sunday morning, I got the actual word that Sean would not be appearing.
On the same day that they announced that Sean Spears would be doing a sit-down interview with Jim Ross. So
yeah, that kind of connected all the dots for me of what the shoot was that he was needed for.
Yeah, because they're obviously, as we discussed on this show, doing a big angle with him and Cody right now, which is going to take priority for AEW, and that's what happened. So how'd Tommy get involved?
So, from there, because I talked to Brian, as I said, it was like mid-afternoon on Saturday, and he said that he was going to try to do everything possible. So I just, having done this for 4 years and having had situations like this happen before, I saw the writing on the wall and knew that, this is probably not going to happen. So Saturday night, I start going to work, start hitting up some people. Sunday is when I get the actual, confirmation email that, hey, we've looked at all options. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do. So at that point, I start, really trying to contact. I think I probably contacted 7 or 8 different people within a span of 10 hours just to figure out what we could do. Tommy replied to me in 10 minutes. And we had a deal set for Friday within 20 minutes. So Tommy, really came through saving our ass, and just a great guy, great locker room guy to have.
And who doesn't love Tommy Dreamer?
I know, can't put him over enough. But so then, because the big thing is that I did get the confirmation Sunday morning, and we did not make the announcement until later on Sunday. The big thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to lock somebody down in Sean Spears' place before we made the announcement, because I didn't just want to throw it out there. And I knew that we could, potentially do it within a day, but I didn't want to throw it out there being like, hey, Sean Spears is off this show and we're actively looking, you know what I mean? I just wanted to have something set. So we got something set. We make the announcement, and then I'm on my way home, fresh off getting pulled over by the Orono police. And
did you get a ticket?
I did, yeah.
Huh.
Little speedster. I get a call from Brian, who is Sean's agent, and he says, hey, I'm not sure if you've been able to check anything yet on social media, but you probably have a DM in your Twitter, and Cody has specifically said, Sean will be on your show. And I'm like, damn, I had no idea, because then I'm like, fuck, I've already booked Tommy Dreamer. What am I doing here? So now it's a triple threat, and AEW, I think they got a hearty.
We'll go ahead. Explain what happened. I mean, it got picked up nationally.
Yeah. So I guess I missed a little bit there.
Yeah. It got picked up nationally. Look, I could tell you this from covering the AEW shows, because I've covered 2 things now with them and done the press availability for them. Shooting spades to spades here. They very much care about the presence they have on these internet wrestling news websites. Like, very much so.
And these are websites that don't normally cover Limitless Wrestling either. It's like Mandatory, Fightful. There were a few others. And I was very surprised, because this, the post that we put out originally was just essentially to explain to our fans what happened.
It wasn't necessarily bashing AEW. It was just.
No, it was legitimately saying what happened, because when, as I said earlier, when a situation like this happens so last minute, I think a lot of people can point fingers and say, oh, they were holding off on the announcement, or it's a bait and switch or whatever. And I just didn't want anybody thinking that, because that's not, Limitless is my life, man. This is what I want to do this for a long time. And I want people, I don't want to lose the goodwill of fans for them thinking that we're trying to fuck anybody over with this.
Right.
And that was not the case whatsoever. So I felt it very important to have all the details out there, everything that I could provide, that, just saying, hey, we did all that we could in this situation. And we just, there's literally nothing that we can do, and we're getting shut down by where he's contracted to.
They got a lot of backlash, and I'd make a bet, to be honest, and this is just my perspective. I have no actual knowledge of this, but I bet you that they didn't even know it was Limitless. I bet you they just, he has an appearance, well, he's got to cancel it. And
yeah, I'm sure it was nothing like, it's just something that they said, oh, he's got this, well, we need him for this. And that's just the length that it went.
Well, I say this calculated because you got the DM from Cody, correct?
Yes.
And Cody told you he's good, it's a go. Sorry about any inconvenience.
Sorry for any inconvenience. He said he's all good to be on your show.
And I think that is because of goodwill you built up with him. And I genuinely mean, because I told you, when I spoke to Cody back in January and I brought up Limitless, he had nothing but awesome things to say about Limitless.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. And I think,
I think once he heard it was Limitless, something clicked there.
I'm not sure what it was, but I'm ecstatic regardless. And I'm ecstatic that, they've said from the start that they really do want to, work with anybody possible. And this is a big, it's a big deal for us, because this is something that has happened to Limitless before with guys who are contracted. And that is the risk we take when we book guys who are, within contracts. But at the time when we booked Sean Spears,
he wasn't.
There was no contract.
Well, and I want to give kudos to AEW here, because it was crappy what they did at first. They realized they're wrong and then immediately made it right. Whereas some other companies, not to be named, would not have done that.
Correct. Absolutely. And I'm 100% giving them props, because, and it here's the thing is like, I taking myself out of my own shoes here. I understand, pulling him from the event for something that they need him for.
Mm-hmm.
I
No
get
doubt.
that because he's contracted to them. He's a contracted guy. I get it.
No doubt.
But in my shoes, in the world of Limitless Wrestling and the job that I have right now of promoting these shows, it sucked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was a big blow to us.
And I think AEW, the guys who are running it, want to make the professional wrestling world better as a whole.
Yeah.
And I do genuinely believe that. So by showing goodwill like this, that is a good thing for everybody.
Absolutely.
So-
And it got, it also alleviates the heat that was on them from, these reports that went out that he was pulled from the event.
Yeah.
So it all works out, I think, in the end, especially for us, because now our fans not only get to enjoy Shawn Spears, but they get to enjoy Tommy Dreamer as well.
In one of the weirdest triple threat matches in history of history. This is a strange one. This is a strange
one that I
one.
never expect.
No, but Anthony Green is now going to face both Shawn Spears and Tommy Dreamer. If he wants to climb that mountain, man, he's got to be up to it. Have you had a chance to talk to Anthony, and is he looking forward to this challenge?
Yeah, he's very much looking forward to it. I was in constant contact with him because obviously it was his match. So he was one of the first to know that Shawn was pulled, and he was one of the first to know basically every change that happened along the way. And he's, very ecstatic for the outcome now because he really was looking forward to wrestling Shawn Spears. And of course, he's now even more excited to tangle with Tommy Dreamer in this triple threat match. And I do want to say real quick before I forget, the bracket competition is a little fucked now. So what we're going to do, because we're dropping this, this is Monday as we're recording this part right now. We're going to drop later tonight a new bracket, all clean, and we're going to extend the bracket competition to the end of the day, Thursday.
Okay. All right.
So if you would like to, re-up your bracket.
So if Tommy Dreamer's winning the Vacation Land Cup for you folks, now's your chance.
Stranger things have happened, John.
Now's your chance. So MyVLC, hashtag MyVLC on Twitter, and then on Facebook, there's going to be a new bracket. Like I said, you're going to hear this whole podcast in full. We went all in on it. Some of these details have changed. For me personally, I still have AG moving to where I believe he will be. Tommy Dreamer now I think kind of nestles himself into like the number 7-ish spot in my bracketology without having a chance to really put a whole lot of thought into it. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Bracketology. We had a lot of fun talking about it. Sorry for it being a little outdated. Randy, anything else you want to say before we let them hear this audible chocolate?
Just one big thing is just thank you to everyone who truly supports us and truly understands the mishaps that can happen in independent wrestling, because I honestly was not stoked to make that announcement. I never am when shit happens like that, but the support that we received for, people understanding that shit just happens sometimes it's out of our control it makes this job a lot easier. So really appreciative for that.
No doubt about it. Folks, enjoy the show. Limitless Wrestling fans, John Alba here with the czar of Limitless Wrestling, Randy Carver. It is the most anticipated episode of the Limitless podcast of the year, Bracketology. We are just days away from the Limitless Wrestling Vacation Land Cup 2 event, the second annual Vacation Land Cup. The winner this year, the stakes higher than they've ever been, will get an automatic championship match at the anniversary show in September. The stakes are high, Randy. Can you feel it?
Yeah, it's a very big deal. Well, last year was as well. The winner of last year's Vacation Land Cup, JT Dunn, getting to choose any match he wanted for September. But now, obviously, with the championship in the mix, this puts you right at the front of the line, so it can't get any bigger than this. We got 8 of the biggest names in Limitless Wrestling. I would say 8 of the biggest names in pro wrestling, really, right now in this tournament. So I'm very excited for it.
Not just that, but listen, we know AEW is going to national TV in October. And if MJF takes that title into national TV with AEW, it's going to go right to the back burner. So those Limitless wrestlers, they've got something to fight for. They got to take their title back. Because Max isn't going to give a crap once he's on television. Max.
I do know Max, but I also know how many dates we have him locked in for. So, regardless of him being on television, he does have a commitment to Limitless
No,
Wrestling.
I'm not saying that. I'm not talking commitments here. I'm saying once the idea of being on television goes to his head, it's going to be all about me, and he ain't going to give a crap about Limitless. So those wrestlers have something to fight for.
I mean, he already doesn't give a crap what anybody has to say. It's always what's next for Max. It's never what's in the now. So I hope, for Max's sake of being a champion, I hope he's not going to overlook who wins this Vacation Land Cup. But who knows, man? He's got a lot on his plate right now.
He certainly does. And as we alluded to last week, he is doing a great job. But, man, I'm just telling you, this is my perspective here, since this whole episode is going to be me giving a lot of perspective. If I'm one of these wrestlers in this tournament, if I care at all about Limitless, I'm doing all I can, not just for myself, but to take that title before Max totally forgets what Limitless is. So
yeah, and Max, I think Max thinks that he's always doing the right thing for Limitless Wrestling by bringing the championship, to other countries, and
right now he is.
Really all over the U.S., which is awesome. But I do think. And I honestly thought this with Ashley Vox too, that there's a chance that Max can lose sight of, what's in front of him.
I'm just telling you, I know how people work. I know the effect. I mean, you've seen it firsthand with me, the effect of television.
Yes, I have, unfortunately.
It drives you to serve your ego to unprecedented heights. So just a thought there. But the Vacation Land Cup is coming up this Friday at the Portland Club. 7:30 bell time, doors at 7. What is the update right now on how things stand?
We've got 46 tickets left as of the time of recording.
So this thing is going to sell out.
Yeah, we're looking like it's going to sell out, which is absolutely crazy, to be honest, because we are running against WWE, who is running 40 minutes down the street. So
were they running Augusta?
What's that?
Are they running Augusta?
They are.
Okay.
And so this was something that, like, a lot of, fuckwad local people said, oh, you shouldn't. And I mean local, like, wrestlers in the business. We're like, oh, you shouldn't run this show. You're not going to do shit, whatever. It's amazing to see how the Limitless faithful has turned out for this show because, WWE does not come to town a ton. So to see the support that we have, even with WWE in town, is amazing because, honestly, it was a little stressful. We'd had this date booked for quite some time, and then to find out that, they were going to come to town on the same date is very discouraging.
Okay, so you did not know when you booked this show that they would be there?
No, we've had this date booked we've had it roughly written in, I should say, for about 4 months. It was booked about 3 months ago, and then it was about, I want to say, a week before Hooked on a Friedman is when I found out for sure that WWE was coming on that date. So there was really not a chance to turn back, especially once you've booked so much talent for a show. And July was really tough. July is always tough because anytime that the 4th of July falls anywhere near a weekend, you don't want to touch that weekend if possible. So that eliminates one. So then it's just, you're kind of ping-ponging around to see what talent can do. And this was really one of the few dates that we had an option for in July. But still have the Limitless faithful turning out in droves, and it's amazing.
So do you embrace that as a challenge?
I do, yeah. It was a big challenge, especially like when we were first getting started with the cup announcements, that I knew that we wanted to, bang out the big ones quick and really just get the word out there, get posters out as soon as possible, because I really do feel like we have a very unique and very good card for this Vacation Land Cup. I think it's one of the best cards of the year so far. And honestly, like, looking at it up and down, I think it could be one of the better cards in Limitless Wrestling history. So I just wanted to get the word out, let people know, because I do think that when it comes down to a live experience, I think we would give one of the best in professional wrestling, with no doubt in my mind. So just wanted to really show people what we're going to offer. And WWE now is coming to town again in August twice. So there's going to be a chance to see them too, for people who are bummed about missing them.
There you go. So it all makes sense and it all works out. That's Look, and the way I look at it is, you know, they're two extremely distinct styles of pro wrestling, and a WWE house show is a lot of fun. I've been to many; they're a lot of fun.
It's so fun.
But you're not going to get anything that is like advancing anything, stories or anything. This is history right here for Limitless. You know,
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
Cup is one of the biggest events of the year.
right. So this has ramifications going forward in Limitless. You know, if you go to that WWE house show again, that awesome, great performance, great people, but you know that's nothing new. That's stuff you could see on TV every week. This is going to be a special show, and you will not want to miss that. I assure you of that. And I'm jealous I can't be there. This is going to be one heck of a show. Before we go into the tournament itself, why don't you remind everyone else what else is on the card?
Yeah, so we've had a couple announcements this week and recently as this podcast has dropped, but a new match added, a 6-way scramble. It's going to be Leon Ruff, Little Blay, Jeremy Leary, Covey Christ, Swoggle, and Ashley Vox. That one's just recently announced.
So Swoggle's back, baby.
Swoggle is back.
I know that excites you.
Oh yeah, I'm a big Swoggle guy.
That dude is one of the funniest people I've ever met in pro wrestling.
He's hilarious. He wrestled Alexander Lee last night at Freelance, actually.
And neither of them died. That's good.
Alexander Lee got his tongue stapled by Gregory.
Oh my god!
So I don't know about died, but he probably is not talking very well.
Hey.
Yeah.
I don't think his new girlfriend will take too kindly to that, huh?
Yeah, I don't know if she's going to be a huge fan.
Hmm.
Red Death Daniel Garcia is making his Limitless Wrestling return, and this is to pull back the curtain a little bit. This was something that was actually going to be a surprise on this show, but we did have a few things shift around with the card as we talked about last week. We had the Andy Williams, his tour was extended. John Silver pulled to do CZW, so we had a few things get moved around. So we did end up announcing this early. So Daniel Garcia makes his return. And stay tuned because there's a really cool match coming your way, probably within a day or two after recording this, that Daniel Garcia is going to be in, and I think people are going to be really excited about that. Smart Mark Sterling has laid out an open challenge after competing in a vicious dance competition, hot dog eating contest, and more against Anthony Green at the Locker Mess Festival a couple weeks ago. Mark Sterling's coming back, open contract. We'll see who accepts that. Hot Scoop Skyler goes one-on-one with the Galaxy's greatest alien, Chris Statlander. I'm extremely excited for that. And then another one I'm very excited for, the Workhorsemen, Anthony Henry and J.D. Drake, one day before they take to the WWE Network for Evolve, go one-on-one with the Main State Posse, Danger Kid, and Aiden Agro in tag team action.
Have you spoken to AG about his match with Tyler Breeze?
I have. He said
he
said it was a fucking amazing match. I honestly can't wait to watch it. I'm still waiting to see when that's going to come out so I can check it out. But, you know, I had no doubts because, like, I always wonder when like WWE talent goes to like Evolve shows, like I wonder what you're going to get from them. And
they let them work their thing, man.
They do. Because I was waiting for night one to come out because I'm like, all right, if anyone's going to fucking push Tyler Breeze, it's AR Fox, and that's who he wrestled on night one. And the tweets coming out of that were like, oh, it's fucking amazing, you know. So that like automatically excited me for Anthony Green's match, and he said it was wonderful.
That's great. That's great to hear. So yeah, I mean, it's cool stuff what Evolve has going with WWE right now, and giving some guys some opportunities. And it just so happens that like half the guys that are on these shows were in Limitless at one point or still are. So yeah. That's
Did you see who AG's wrestling on the network?
Briggs, right?
Yes.
Isn't that nuts? Is that not okay? Let's talk about that. How crazy is that for you?
It's pretty wild to see because I met, you know, Josh Briggs extremely early in his career. I think within his first 5 matches.
Well, you've said it.
Mike Honcho.
You've said it. Like, when you put him on his first Limitless match was a scramble, right?
Yes, it was an 8-man scramble at the Portland Club.
And when you did that, you were just like, okay, let's see what this guy's got. And and you were like, and everyone was like, oh my, this is a hoss.
I was honestly like that until he wrestled Dijak in July of 2017 because I just like Josh was a guy who was pushed to me by Dijak and Anthony Green. They're like, oh, this guy's going to be really good. And he was very early in his career at that point, so he did the scramble. I think that was April of 2017 was his debut. He wrestles JT Dunn in June, and then I think his star-making performance, if you want to call it that, was the match with Dijak, which was at Nothing Gold Can Stay in July of 17, and that's the match that not only really woke me up, but I think really got a visceral fan support behind him in Limitless Wrestling. So that's really kind of what made him in Limitless, but. Yeah, he was a guy originally, really pitched by Anthony Green. So it's kind of funny how that's come full circle. And now they're going to wrestle each other on the, the biggest wrestling subscription service ever.
Well, those are two of the top stars in Limitless Wrestling history and two of the top stars in the business in the future. So cannot wait to see what they are going to do. That's on the WWE Network. That's not part of the Vacation Land Cup. The Vacation Land Cup is this Friday, and we are ready to rock and roll here with some bracketology. Now, as I said in the past, when we did this episode in the past, this is not like how you're going to see the matches seeded in the tournament itself, because you see them differently. Right now, we've got Eli Everfly versus JT Dunn, Anthony Green versus Brad Hollister, Christian Casanova versus Kevin Blackwood, and then Sean Spears versus Anthony Green as your matchups. But with bracketology, it's almost like a power rankings thing. So I'm going to rank them 8 through 1, 1 being the top seed.
I got to correct you real quick.
Yes.
You said Hollister versus AG. It's Hollister versus
No, I thought I said Ace. Did I not say Ace?
I don't believe.
Oh, sorry. I meant Ace. Because I said AG versus Spears still. So I meant Ace. Sorry about that. So yes. So it is almost like a power ranking sorts. So that is how we're going to talk about this, and we're going to break down each guy. Real quick before we do that, a reminder, hashtag my VLC on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook. What is my VLC all about, Randy?
So my VLC is a bracket competition that we're doing this year. It's the first time we've ever done it. As of now, as of recording, we have over 50 submissions right now in the my VLC bracket competition. So a lot of people submitting their brackets. Earlier this week, we posted a blank graphic. It's got options where you can plug in your winners, and then you can plug in the order of elimination leading up to the final winner of the Vacation Land Cup. If you fill that out, submit it either on the Facebook post or on Twitter using hashtag MyVLC. You'll be entered into the competition, and you can win a exclusive VLC sticker package that we are not releasing to the public. It's not for sale. It's legitimately only going to be for the people who win this competition, if anybody. So definitely fill out those graphics. And I do just want to say, because there are a lot of people just posting who they think the winner is going to be. If you do want to enter in this competition, please fill out the bracket itself and then either post it in the comments or just tweet it out using hashtag MyVLC.
And you can just print it out and take a picture of it and put it in there for all we care. That's totally
I've
fine.
I've seen people screenshot it and then just use Snapchat text and just put it in there. I mean, whatever you want to do so that we can just easily find it and easily be able to, go back to it after the Cup and see if we do have any winners. So
I hope you're making Eric Greenleaf go through all the submissions after it's all done.
Yeah, Eric, I don't know. Do you really want me having him sort out
That's true.
Numbers?
He can't do basic math, so
he can count to 3, and that's a stretch.
Sometimes, so. Yeah, sometimes he can.
I don't want to put too much pressure on him.
Yeah, that's true. Never mind.
But yeah, my VLC, it's really fun to see all the submissions coming in, a lot of different brackets, which is awesome. So definitely submit yours if you want a chance of getting the sticker package again. Facebook.com/Limitless Wrestling, or on Twitter, tag us and use the hashtag MyVLC.
And it's free to enter, folks. So
yep, free 99.
Free 99. I like that. And I'll be giving mine in this as well. So let's do it. Why don't we? Bracketology edition. I love all 8 of these guys who are in it. So even if someone is number 8, that does not mean that I think they are a weak option. But my number 8 is Eli Everfly. And it's crazy because in what other world would he be the lowest seed? Because he's so tremendously talented.
He's the Miz Killer.
He is the Miz Killer. This is very true. But to be fair, we've never seen him win in Limitless. And for as talented as he is, and he is insanely talented, he hasn't won. Now, he has faced some tough competition. He's faced some very tough competition. But to me, I was honestly surprised he made it into the tournament because of that. The guy had never won in Limitless. When you talk head to head against Vacation Land Cup competitors, he's 0-2. He faced Kevin Blackwood in that scramble that I don't remember anything about from last year's Vacation Land Cup.
Yeah, okay.
And then he tagged with Delilah Doom and lost to O'Hara and Blackwood at No Control. So he had that barn burner with Brody King last year as well, which was an awesome match. And he did nearly beat Brody King. But still, winless and limitless. So how does he earn his way into this tournament, Randy?
So I'm glad you asked, because I think a lot of people were wondering this, but Eli Everfly, to me, and I do think that he makes sense at number 8 because of the win-loss record, but I think he's the wild card in this tournament. And, last year we had a wild card as well, and it's more so just someone who you really would not guess would be in the tournament or advance in the tournament. And I do think Eli Everfly has a good chance to advance, even though he is wrestling, last year's winner, who we'll get to later. He's 0-4 in limitless competition. Out of those 4 matches, he's only been pinned once, and it was by Brody King.
And it was a hell of a match. It
was a hell of a match, and he almost beat Brody King, as you said. But I look at the other 3 where he was not pinned in any of the decisions, and you look at the matches that he's had, and Eli's one of those guys who comes close just about every time. And I think, honestly, with everything going on with JT Dunn, I think some judgment can get clouded. I think he can, as we were talking about Max earlier, can he just stay focused on what matters right now? JT has a lot on his plate, and I think if anyone can upset JT Dunn, it could be Eli Everfly here, to be quite honest.
Well, it's going to be a different kind of match for for JT Dunn, rather, because Eli Everfly is very unconventional, and
he's very unconventional. And this is the first time also that Everfly is fighting someone who is somewhat near his size.
But he utilizes his size in a way that would be a disadvantage for others. So, some guys, what is he, 5'6", right?
I don't know, man. He's really short.
I think he's about 5'6". A lot of guys who are 5'6" would never be able to utilize that to their advantage, but he does. And look no further than that Brody King match. Is that Brody King match on our YouTube?
Yes, it's youtube.com/.
You got to go watch this match. It's one of the craziest matches in Limitless history, and it opened that show, if I'm not mistaken.
You're correct.
And they almost brought the chandelier down.
Yeah, it was almost done as soon as it started.
But it showed me that he can compete with just about anybody, but still, winless and limitless. When was the last time we saw him? Was it that November show?
It was the beginning of December when we teamed up with
the Blitzkrieg show. Okay. So, it's been a while, and to me, that it's just a disadvantage. But I agree with you. He could certainly go on a run. We love a good Cinderella. It would be awesome to see him make that championship fatal 4-way. But I don't know. Just 0-4, going against a defending champion. He's my number 8 seed for that reason.
He's got a huge mountain to climb. And I think the big thing that's, going to be integral in Everfly making it to the finals is to not have that big crash and burn moment. I think he's got to pick, you got
to pick your spots.
If he's looking for that kill shot on JT Dunn, I think he really needs to make sure that it is the kill shot and that it's not going to be something that he's going to be met with an elbow.
Because that's the thing. Like you said, these guys are wrestling twice if you're moving on. So
yes, you have to focus on later too. You want to save some energy, but you also have to make it past the first round. So it's a teeter-totter.
No doubt. But all 8 of these guys are awesome. But of the 8, I think he is the 8th seed. Number 7, a guy who probably would have been higher given his circumstances had they been better, but it's Kevin Blackwood. Kevin Blackwood, 2-4 in Limitless Wrestling. He is 2-1 against Vacation Land Cup competitors. Again, he did pick up a win technically over Eli Everfly in that scramble. He did lose against Christian Casanova in September of last year. And we were supposed to see the big dream team blow off and everything, and unfortunately didn't get to see that. But he did beat Eli Everfly again in that tag team match. Now, Kevin Blackwood, it is solely for this reason, and solely. Dude hasn't wrestled since last year. And that is it. He's coming off a devastating leg injury that would sideline a lot of guys for a lot longer. Some I've even seen online have said he's coming back too early, too quickly, that he's not ready. Now, we've seen some videos of him, and it looks like he's moving around well. And he is coming back with a purpose, as we saw at the last show. But the bottom line is, we haven't seen the dude in a ring in 7 months. And
You're not wrong.
And that just, think about it this way, man. Think about any real, like major sport where freaking Kevin Durant right now is coming off a torn Achilles. He's going to miss all of next season. And yeah, he's coming back with the Nets. But at 32 years old and coming off a torn Achilles, is he going to be Kevin Durant? And he's Kevin Durant. That's like one of the top stars in all sports. Kevin Blackwood's a lot younger, obviously, but still coming off a major, major leg injury. Are we sure he's going to be the same?
Yeah, and I don't even know if I'm more concerned about the ankle or his head, because
that
it was a massive concussion that he got, and that was the scariest thing, is because when he was in the hospital, I was talking to Puff, and Kevin had no recollection of what happened for 2 days.
Wow.
That's how hard he slammed his head, and that's scary shit. So we definitely, before we even put him in this tournament, we made sure that he went through the proper avenues to get cleared, because that's a scary thing, and you don't want anybody really harming their lives for pro wrestling. But he was ultimately cleared, and has been cleared for a few weeks now, I think over a month at this point. And pretty cool, just something pretty cool that he really wanted to come back at the Vacation Land Cup. And he's got a lot of friends and family coming up for this, and he really wants to make a go at this. But like you said, with any major sport, when big injuries like this happen, there is going to be rust in any aspect of your game, so to speak. And I do think it is a little different with Kevin, because this isn't a normal. Kevin's not normal, and that's saying that in the best way possible.
And he is a great athlete.
Kevin has been working his ass off from day one. He's been around people who are motivating him to do that, like Daniel Garcia, Puff, Kevin Bennett, for example. The Buffalo crew is such a positive crew, and they've just been pushing each other since this accident to get back, to be better. And I know that, multiple days a week, Kevin's at Grapplers Anonymous in Buffalo training his fucking ass off. And so that's where, I ride that line of, okay, he might have the rust, but I know how often he's in that ring right now. I know that he's getting ready for Christian. I know that he knows what Christian brings to the table. And I don't know if Christian knows what Kevin brings to the table right now, because Kevin has been able to train for, I don't know, maybe a little over a month now, of doing whatever he wants, whenever he wants. And, no one knows what's in the arsenal. We saw that Rings of Saturn, like, variation submission, his promo the other day. He's never done that before.
Yeah.
Until now.
And what I do like for him is that this is a personal match for him.
Very personal.
And when you're talking lower seeds, having incentive and having something to go after other than just the title, that helps you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I certainly could see an upset here, if you want to call it an upset. I certainly could see it, because it is so personal. But, man, I cover real professional sports for a living, and I see it firsthand. You could have the best player in the league, but if he's coming off a devastating injury, you don't just walk right back in. It doesn't happen like that. And I hope Kevin Blackwood proves me wrong.
He wants to change that narrative, man.
Because I like Kevin Blackwood a lot, and I hope he proves that wrong. But I have some doubts in that sense.
That's understandable, and I think a lot of people, when filling out their brackets, also have the same doubts. But on the flip side, Kevin has also been one of the most, from the submissions I've got from the brackets, he's got some of the most victories, piled up of anybody in this tournament. So thought that was very interesting. I think it's either a lot of people have him winning or getting to the final two, or they have him gone in the first round, which is very interesting.
No doubt. No doubt about that. My number 6, the 6th seed, Brad Hollister, who filled out a very interesting bracket, may I add.
Yeah, you like that? The bacon emoji about 20 times.
Yeah. Well, every slot was bacon except for him. So, I mean,
Very talented.
certainly confident is Brad Hollister. Brad Hollister probably, we talked about Eli Everfly being a surprise in this tournament. I think a lot of people were even more surprised to see Brad Hollister in this. Why do you think that is?
I think solely for the fact that he has not been back in Limitless Wrestling very long. We saw him for the first time, I want to say it was July of 2016 in Orono. And then since then, he was not seen again until March of this year. So nearly a 3-year layoff for Brad Hollister. But he's come back, and he's come back very strong. He's got 2 big victories. He won the 6-way scramble that included some big names in March, like Danhausen, Josh Briggs, Pat Buck, just to name a few. And then in May, he defeats Christian Casanova, who at that point was virtually a lock for this tournament. And then that actually, that put a little discussion in place until Kevin Blackwood made it official that he was going to wrestle Christian in the first round. But, after those 2 big victories, I don't think you can deny Brad Hollister a spot in this tournament, because he's been streaking lately. And then he goes on YouTube and calls out, one of the pillars of Limitless Wrestling for this tournament. So a very bold move by Brad Hollister entering this tournament and calling out who he did.
Yeah, it was bold. And sometimes people have to call their shot. And I give him some kudos for doing that. Like you said, 2-1 in Limitless Wrestling, and he did pick up that win against Christian Casanova. I think Brad Hollister is really underrated. And he's a hoss in his own sense. And he has a huge mountain to go through, quite literally. But I think about what a win for him would do here. Even if he doesn't win the whole tournament, think about what beating Ace Romero would do for him. That's huge.
Huge. I think it's done, Ace, and we'll get to it in a little bit. Ace has only lost 6 matches ever in Limitless Wrestling, and he's been on virtually every show for 4 years. So that would be huge for Brad Hollister. That's I don't want to say a star-making performance, but that definitely is going to propel you into the upper echelon of Limitless Wrestling.
No doubt. I want to say this, by the way. I'm bummed Chris Dickinson isn't in this tournament. Did you try to get him?
Yes, Chris was going to be in this tournament because I do feel that
he climbed that ladder this past year.
Yes, and unfortunately, he is going to be in. Well, not unfortunately. I'm pretty fucking stoked about it for him, but he's going to be in California. Brian Cage is getting married actually that weekend, so he's out there and he's going to hit 2 bar wrestling shows in California. So happy to see him back on the California independent scene, but obviously bummed that he's not going to be in this tournament. But Chris will be back in September.
Good to hear. Just I was thinking about big horses and Limitless, and that's a guy I would have liked to have seen in this. All right, moving on. We have my number 5 seed, Christian Casanova. He was in last year's Vacation Land Cup, made it to the Final 4. He had a hell of a year. 8-8 overall in Limitless competition. He is 1-2 against those in the tournament. He did technically lose to JT Dunn in last year's finals. He did beat Kevin Blackwood at Pretenders Beware, but as you said, did lose to Brad Hollister. Perhaps trying to find his way since Stokely Hathaway departed. And that's a story to keep our eyes on because maybe he needed a little extra help. But tremendous natural athlete, has found himself, knows who he is still one of the most confident performers in Limitless Wrestling, has had a ton of success in New England over the course of the past year. He's been there before, and to me, having that experience helps you go a long way.
Yeah, and he had an amazing first round performance last year against Ashley Fox. That was one of my favorite matches of the year. That one's also up for free on our YouTube if you want to check it out. But as you said, man, since Stokely Hathaway departs from Limitless Wrestling, I think it's been a rough road for Christian. And he's still having these great performances. He wrestled Chris Statlander in March. He wrestled Brad Hollister in May. great performances, but unfortunately the wins have not been there like they have been for Christian, because when Stokely was around, when the Dream Team was in full effect, it was wins all the time, dubs for the Dream Team. And, as you mentioned earlier, he does have a victory over Kevin Blackwood, who he faces in the first round last September. So I don't know. Christian he's in a weird place right now. I think it's a transitional period for him in Limitless Wrestling, but what better way to really finish off this transitional period by winning the Vacation Land Cup and being the number one contender for the Limitless Championship?
And what kind of message would it send to Kevin Blackwood if he beats him?
I think ultimately that Christian probably has his number. We saw in the first match that they had that Stokely did play quite a role in really solidifying that victory for Christian. But if Christian can do it, I think there's no doubts anymore that maybe Christian just has Kevin's number right now.
I would agree with that. My number 4 seed, Shawn Spears. Shawn Spears making his Limitless Wrestling debut. But as we spoke about last week, he's kind of been the talk of the town in pro wrestling over the course of the past 6 days or so. So Shawn Spears is coming in. This is one of his first independent appearances since being released from WWE. He is making the rounds here before he's on television full-time once again. Obviously a huge get for Limitless, but can the Perfect 10 be number 1? I don't know, but he's the number 4 seed in my bracketology. He is facing the retrosexual Anthony Green. Hard to compare him to any of these guys because he hasn't really faced any of them, but it's a wild card because he obviously has experience at the very highest level possible. He's performed in front of tens of thousands of fans, and that is definitely an advantage. But is it potentially a disadvantage when you're thrown in front of a raucous crowd of around 400 fans who a lot of them are going to be cheering for their homegrown boy AG?
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting environment for this match, and I'm very excited for that alone. But this is to go back to kind of what we said earlier. I wonder where Shawn Spears' head is at. I wonder how much homework he's done on Anthony Green. I also wonder, it's kind of interesting. I wonder who MJF wants to win this tournament, because I could almost see him wanting Shawn Spears to win this so MJF could whoop his ass for the Limitless Wrestling Championship.
I can't believe this. AEW is having them team together at Fight for the Fallen. I'm like, did you see the guy's reaction? Like, he wants to kill him. And now they're going to team them together? Doesn't make any sense to me. They're facing Darby Allin, too.
Oh, yeah?
It's just a limitless orgy at Fight for the Fallen.
Shawn Spears, though, as you said, very minimal time on the independents right now. I think he's only a month into being kind of back on the independent circuit. So for that alone, I think I said it last week. I'll say it again. I'm always interested to see what these former WWE talents can do on the independents, because it's usually a very, very fun time. But yeah, can he be perfect in this tournament? I don't know. He's won a couple tournaments in the past. An OVW Southern Tag Title Tournament in 2007, the King of Florida 2010. He has tournament experience, but can he do it against one of the most favored people in this tournament, Anthony Green? I'm not sure, but if he can, I'm very excited to see the possibilities of this four-way elimination finals, because Shawn Spears in there would be very, very interesting.
I think you brought up a good point where you said, has he done his research? I don't know, but he is the 4 seed because of his pedigree. And look, for as much as I do think he may struggle a little bit with this crowd, they're also going to be going nuts for him simultaneously. So
of course, yeah. I think it's going to be a very split crowd, to be quite honest, for that match.
Right. So I'm really interested to see how that one plays out, because he is going against my number 3 seed, the retrosexual Anthony Green. So AG, why don't you talk about the video AG posted a couple weeks ago and what that meant to you to see him talk about Limitless like that and see that drive that he has to win this tournament?
Yeah, there was a video a couple weeks ago posted, and I think there was a lot of speculation about Anthony Green because we're in a very interesting point right now of pro wrestling where contracts are the new thing, and not everybody really has a clear understanding of how these contracts work. Because, a lot of companies do not put their contractual information out there. It's either because they want to keep it tight, or maybe they don't offer great contracts to the talent, so they don't want to look like shit. Whatever it may be, a lot of the specifics of these contracts do not make it to the public until maybe months after people sign. So a lot of people were speculating because of Anthony Green's new Evolve contract that may mean that Limitless Wrestling is off the table, because Evolve has had somewhat of a history, and not just Evolve. I'm not just picking them out, but they have a history of having, some specifics in their contracts of, you can't work here, or you can't do this on iPay-per-view, or whatever the fuck they put on there. So a lot of people were speculating that Anthony Green's time in Limitless may be coming to an end. So he releases a video to address his future in Limitless Wrestling, and he says that he can no longer be a wrestler in Limitless Wrestling because he has to be the champion. And we also saw a video of him at the American Legion Post 84 where he announced the perfect opponent, which was Shawn Spears. And I think it was very encouraging for Limitless Wrestling fans who thought that Anthony Green was going somewhere. And now, he makes his proclamation that he needs to be the champion of Limitless. Very cool stuff to see, because I do know how much not only Limitless Wrestling, but the Limitless Wrestling Championship means to Anthony Green. And now, he's just in a boom point of his career. We talked about him wrestling Tyler Breeze earlier, now wrestling Shawn Spears in the opening round of this tournament. Huge things on the horizon and happening within a week for Anthony Green. So he's another one. And I don't see Anthony Green's judgment getting clouded very much, or just his head in general getting clouded very much. But you got to look at everything going on right now. Anthony Green's career is taking off right now. He is in that boom point. So how is he handling that? How is he handling being on the WWE Network the day after the Vacation Land Cup? How is he handling just wrestling Tyler Breeze? You know what I mean? There's a lot of shit going on in his life right now.
What do you make of his
past Perfect 10?
What do you make of his new attitude?
I think Anthony Green just has more of an edge to him now. Because
but he's humbled himself too, though.
He has, but I think the edge is there for him to, it's. I think he's motivated. Let me say that. I think he's motivated, and I think he knows what he needs to do, not only in Limitless Wrestling, but for Limitless Wrestling. He wants to be the champion. He wants to be the flag bearer of this company, and this is the opportunity for him to get to that, the top of the mountain to challenge for the championship. This is the I don't want to call it a free pass because you have to fight your fucking ass off to win this tournament, but this is, the propelling motion to get you from wherever you are in Limitless Wrestling up to the top to wrestle MJF for the title.
And just think about this. If he faces MJF, every single person in that building will be in AG's corner.
I think my dog could win this tournament, and everyone would be in the dog's corner. But yes, I agree with you.
That's not quite the same analogy you made to me off air the other day about something, but that's pretty close to it, though.
No, but yes, I totally agree with you. I agree. I think it would definitely be the home team versus the away team.
Imagine that. We've never seen a situation like that where, like, let's say, I mean, I'm not sure what the whole deal is for the anniversary show, but let's say there's 500-600 people there, and every single one of them is in the corner of one person.
Yeah, it'd be, and I think we got a taste of that at Hooked on a Freedman. Yeah. To be quite honest, the vibe of Ashley Vox versus MJF was intense. It was very intense, and it was very much the crowd on Ashley Vox's side. So I think whoever wins this cup, I think we see that even more, because Max is, continuously making Towns, and by making Towns, I mean making Towns hate him. So,
no doubt. Who do you think my number 2 is?
This is a toss-up. I know you, John. So I think you put merit into past winners of tournaments. So I'm going to guess that your number 2 is Ace Romero, with your number 1 being JT Dunn.
You were very correct in that. Cool. For essentially the reasons you just said, but let's break it down. So Ace Romero, as you said earlier, one of the longest tenured wrestlers in all of Limitless Wrestling.
I would say probably the longest tenured. I think in
He and
conclusion, I
AG.
think he has the most matches.
Yeah. So, and we've seen a total complete transformation of Ace Romero in that time. 23-6 in Limitless Wrestling. 3-3 all time against people in this cup. He had the win against JT Dunn at No Dropkicks in the Living Room. He lost to AG at Question the Answers. He lost to AG in the Fatal 4-Way of The World Is Ours. He beat AG in that legendary steel cage match a year ago, which I can't believe that was a year ago, by the way.
Me too. I was thinking about that the other day. It does not feel like that long.
He beat JT Dunn at Pretenders Beware, and then he lost with AG against the Kings. So he let down his guard a bit, and he lost in January against those two powerhouses in Limitless. Now he's back here. He's facing Brad Hollister in the first round. Ace rather has been there before. He knows what it takes to win. He has the ability to capture that Limitless crowd, and they are endearing to him, and they are endeared to him. So I think you just by default almost have to put him up there. Plus, if I need to say it, as if we've said it a million times, he happens to be one of the biggest competitors in all of Limitless physically, so that's going to work to your advantage for the most part. Not always, but for the most part. And his natural athleticism makes him a threat to anyone. So Ace Romero is pretty easily my number 2 seed here. But number 1 is JT Dunn. He is the winner of last year's Vacation Land Cup, and we saw what it did for him. And we saw a new attitude from him in Limitless, joining sides with Max, and now he popped Max in the back of the head. 12-7-1 all-time in Limitless. 2-5-1, though, against Vacation Land Cup competitors. Now, when you're main eventing that much and when you're in these big matches that much, you're going to have some losses. And a lot of these are multi-man losses that he had. But I still put a lot of stock in what he's accomplished. He's super motivated to get that title off of Max because he wants to, even though I think last year he thought that winning the Vacation Land Cup would crown him the ace of Limitless Wrestling, I think winning that title now is what he feels will crown him as such. So I think he is the most motivated man in this tournament, and for that reason, he is my number 1 seed.
It's a very fair number 1. I think JT Dunn, out of anybody in this tournament, like you said, I think he the most wants to get that title off of MJF. And we saw that, that attitude really come to light last show when he elbowed Max in the back of the head and said, I'm going to win the Vacation Land Cup. I'm going to be the Limitless Wrestling champion, because MJF was quite confident that JT was going to win that tournament, but not challenge him for the title, which obviously was not JT's plans. So, he's got a chance. This is the opportunity, because JT, has not had the best win-loss record over the past year in Limitless Wrestling after winning the Vacation Land Cup, which usually is something that, I think we expect to propel someone really, into, the main event picture and into big matches. And unfortunately, JT just did not have the best win-loss record over the past 365. But this is the chance to turn that all around, to really change the narrative and, to do what he set out to do since March, since the championship got here, and that's be the champion of Limitless Wrestling.
What do you think about Ace at number 2?
I think that's fair. I think honestly the top 4 is such a toss-up. It's very tough. I think honestly the whole thing is a toss-up. I was surprised still that you had Kevin Blackwood so low, but I understand it. I think Ace holds an advantage for being, not only in his hometown area on the home turf, but being the biggest man in this competition. Brad Hollister, his offense is throwing guys around. Is he going to be able to throw Ace Romero around until Ace will not get his shoulder up at the count of 3? I don't know, because that's a big man to be thrown around. So I think Ace does, I think that's 2 big advantages for him. And as you said, the win-loss record, probably the best in Limitless Wrestling. I don't have everything in front of me right now, so I don't know off the top of my head, but 23-6 out of 4 years, a limitless competition, just about 4 years. That's a very good win-loss record. So
Well,
we'll see what he can
yeah.
do.
So you just said you had some disputing. What would be your seeding? I'm not asking you to pick winners here, but how would you seed it? What would be your power rankings here?
I'm with you on JT because I do put a lot of merit into, the past winner of a tournament, especially if they're entering again. I think past winners of tournaments definitely have the best idea of how, the tournament's going to work, how it's going to shake out, especially the finals, because the finals are so different than what, a lot of promotions do. It's a four-way dance, essentially. It's a four-way elimination match. That's, in my opinion, very tough to prepare for. So JT has a lot of experience there. I would put JT at number 1. This is tough, actually. I think I'm with you on Ace Romero at number 2. As much as I'd like to say AG would fit in that number 2 role, I think just the win-loss record, the career of Ace Romero in Limitless Wrestling really reaches out to me more than Anthony Green's does. I would put Anthony Green, though, at a tight number 3. My big thing with yours is I'm surprised you put Sean Spears up so high.
It's his past pedigree, man.
I understand that, but I don't know, man. I don't know if I'd put him over Christian Casanova per se.
That's fair. I mean, that's fair. And they were 4 and 5 for me, so I mean that's relatively interchangeable.
So I think I would put Casanova at 4.
So you'd say the rematch of last year's finals, that's how you would rank them, essentially, more or less. Or no, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. It was that was ignore me. I was thinking of the main event. Keep in mind,
match,
yeah, keep in mind. I was a little heated last year during the Vacation Land Cup finals.
Yeah, you got knocked on your ass, if I can recall correctly. Yeah. So I have Christian at number 4. I'm gonna put Brad Hollister at number 5.
Okay.
I'm gonna put Kevin Blackwood at 6.
Okay. So it's just Spears and Everfly at that point.
I'm gonna put Spears at 7, Everfly at 8.
Okay.
I'm with you on Everfly being 8 and being the wild card in this tournament. And that's kind of what I expected the overall response to be for Everfly. Is a lot of people, a lot of doubters.
I mean, just think about this crazy world. A week from now, Eli Everfly wins the Vacation Land Cup and is challenging MJF at the anniversary show for the title.
I mean, anything can happen in this tournament. That's what I love about it, is because it's so crazy, and especially the fatal 4-way elimination finals really creates a lot of opportunities for literally anything to happen.
Yeah, it does. So you want my VLC? Let's give it to you. All right, here we go. I am going with JT Dunn to defeat Eli Everfly and move on to the finals. I am going with Kevin Blackwood to defeat Christian Casanova. I think Blackwood, even though I ranked him lower, I think that motivation will stick for itself and prove a point. Sometimes when athletes are motivated, it can overcome anything. Willis Reed, all those great things we've seen in sports. I am going with AG to defeat Sean Spears. And I am going with, ready for this, Brad Hollister to defeat Ace Romero.
Wow. Yeah. That's the one that I least expected you to flip on.
I think that would shock everyone at Limitless. And
I do too. That's legitimately, like, there are a few matches in this. The Everfly match, the Hollister match. I think those two are potential career changers for Hollister and Everfly if they can win.
And you talk about motivation. I think Brad Hollister is that motivated.
Did you see his promo on YouTube?
Yeah.
If you have not seen that, if you're listening to this, definitely go check that out, because where he called out Ace Romero, it kind of gave me goosebumps, man. It was very intense, and saying that he's calling out one of the pillars of Limitless Wrestling, and he's going to toss him all around the ring, and really, something that kind of sold me on Brad Hollister, to be quite honest. I'm like, damn, this guy's going to come in there and fuck Ace up,
and he could.
He could.
So,
It's gonna take a lot.
but and I'll say this: I do think that puts him at a disadvantage in the championship match, but still, beating Ace alone would be just enormous for him. So moving on to the finals, I've got Hollister, Dunn, AG, and Blackwood. And then I am going, because you want order of elimination, right?
Yep. That's what we
Okay.
have listed for the MyVLC.
Okay, you want order of elimination. I got Blackwood out first, Hollister out second, and then Dunn pinning AG to retain the Vacation Land Cup trophy.
Okay. So Dunn's gonna repeat.
Dunn repeats and gets that match with MJF where he has a chance to earn some personal retribution and then finally lay claim to the top of the mountain at Limitless.
Kings Collide, main event of the anniversary show, could be huge.
It'd be enormous. It'd be one of the biggest matches ever in Limitless. I mean, what do you think of that? What do you think of that bracket breakdown? You seem to disagree about Hollister there.
No. I was just surprised. And that's, Hollister and Everfly, I think, are the big wild cards in this. So, no, I'm into that. I think my biggest surprise for your bracket was Blackwood, with what your rankings were.
Yeah.
But I understand where you're coming from. But from your rankings, I think they're not Hollister. Blackwood is my biggest surprise, especially that he is, going to defeat Christian Casanova. But no, I think that's pretty on par with what a lot of people think. I think a lot of people have JT Dunn, retaining and moving on to get that championship match.
And then
in
look,
September.
if AG comes up just short, what does that do for him? Does that motivate him even more?
I mean, regardless, whoever this runner-up is in the tournament is still going to be in a very big spot in Limitless Wrestling.
Yeah,
but
no doubt. I'm gonna say this though, and it's hard for me to like pick favorites and stuff, even though that is how I foresee the bracket shaking out. I want Anthony Green to win this. I really want Anthony Green to win this. It's who I want to win.
Okay.
But who I think will win, I think JT Dunn will win. But
I legitimately had there are a couple people who submitted 2 brackets and they're like, this is what I believe, but this is what I want.
No.
Oh, I
See,
know.
I hate this. I hate this when people do this for the NCAA tournament. Sheet of integrity, folks. Sheet of integrity. You have one bracket. People are like, well, I had this bracket for my office pool, and then this bracket, I had my dog pick all of them. And this, no. One bracket.
I'm kind of interested. If you have your dog pick the VLC, let me know. I'm kind of intrigued at what's going on.
I'll see what Theodore thinks of
that would be great, actually. That would be some great content
of the Vacation Land Cup when I see him tomorrow. But
perfect.
I don't know, man. I really want AG to win this. I really do. I think it would be a transformative moment for him, for the company, and it would set up the craziest atmosphere I think ever for a Limitless match with him and MJF. I really think that might be the loudest match in Limitless history.
There's some big possibilities here.
So I don't know, man. I really hope that he pulls it off. I do think JT Dunn ultimately is the one that does it. And look, that'd be great for him. And I'm not rooting against JT Dunn, but I don't know, man. I don't know. Part of me thinks that imagining the possibilities of what it would mean for AG to win.
It'd be huge.
Yeah. And, yeah, by the way, Mac Daniels coming back to Let's Wrestle Volume 8, huh? Yeah.
He is. Yeah. I'm gonna set something up pretty cool for him.
It's almost like he proved something to you.
I mean, he did. I mean, he's a very good competitor. He's been getting to the school a lot lately, so he's been putting in the time, and that's all I asked of him from the start, was just put in the time.
Yeah, and he did, and you still came after him, but whatever.
Listen, man. I came after him because he just was not coming around very much to the school, and you We got to stay on these
Okay,
guys.
well, let me
So,
ask you this: how has Aiden Agro been since that match? Has he said anything to you about Mac Daniels?
I mean, he said that Mac Daniels is a very athletic cat, very good in the ring. Aiden Agro obviously still had his number, but
He did,
I
but
mean,
he
he's
took
not.
it to him. Mac Daniels took it to Aiden Agro in that match.
Oh yeah, no doubt in my mind. It was a very good match, but he did come up short. Your boy, managed by you.
Yeah, and in a match refereed by Eric Greenleaf.
What does that have to do with anything? He was a fine official for that match.
You're kidding, right?
No, I think
Did
he
you
did
watch
an okay
that match
job.
back?
I did.
Did you watch that? Mac Daniels went down. He was very hurt, and he wasn't even checking on him.
Oh, he checked on him.
He did not check on him.
Yes, he did. Eric Greenleaf knows the rules.
I'm not saying he doesn't know rules. He just lacks sympathy and even empathy.
He doesn't have to have sympathy. He's there to count to 3 and make sure everybody's alive. That's it.
Whatever. Anyway, folks, that's the Bracketology edition of the Limitless Wrestling Podcast. Hashtag MyVLC. You have until Wednesday. At what time?
I'm going to cut it off at the end of the day Wednesday.
Okay.
So,
all right. So
you
got
have
till
all day Wednesday to still submit it. Again, there's a post on Facebook. It's a couple days old now, but go find it. It's from this past Wednesday. It's the clean bracket that we posted. You can fill that out, submit it in the comments on Facebook.com/Limitless Wrestling, or tweet us using hashtag MyVLC, tag us in it. And after the cup, we'll be getting in touch if there are any winners, and we will let them know when their sticker packages will arrive.
and encourage your friends to get involved on this. Even if they don't know anything about Limitless Wrestling, give them that blank bracket and say, hey, just fill out some names here. You never know. Chances
Why
are,
not?
usually those are the ones that win. So
Yeah.
So I could sit here and break down my bracket all I want, but what the hell do I know, right? Anything else you want to add, Randy?
No, 46 tickets remain as of the time of recording. So if you want to get your tickets, limitlesswrestling.com/tickets. This is looking like it's going to sell out. And usually the Portland Club does let us release extra tickets on the day of the show. I just don't like to count on it just in case. So if you want to get your tickets, make sure you have them ahead of time. Definitely get those ordered. And we'll see you Friday. I'm very excited for it. This is honestly one of, if not my favorite event that we do every year. It's a lot of fun, and it's going to create for some very fun moments this Friday. So very excited to really spend this day with the most loyal and dedicated Limitless family we've ever had at a show, because as we talked about earlier with WWE in town, there was a decision to make. So I'm just stoked, man. It's going to be a very fun time.
Can't wait for it. Folks, enjoy the show.